Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to our continued coverage of the Geneva International Motor Show. Now, we've talked about passenger cars, we've talked about concept cars, but now we're going to talk about supercars. A lot of you have been asking us to cover a bunch of these machines, and we are super excited to do that. Instead of just droning on about cars from our perspective, we thought it'd be pretty cool to bring in a real-life professional racing driver. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome Aditya Patel.
Thank you, Glenn. For those of you who don't know who I am, well, basically I race supercars. So it's good to be here talking about these cars. I'm really looking forward to it.
This is Aditya Patel, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a huge honor for us to have him here. So the first car we're going to talk about, and one that I'm really excited for, is the McLaren Senna. McLaren Senna is sort of the flagship ultimate expression of McLaren performance cars. It takes up the mantle along with the legendary F1 and even the crazy P1, although it's not really a successor to either of those cars. And here are some tasty numbers for you. 789 bhp from a 4-litre twin-turbo V8. It produces 800 Newton meters of torque, can do 0 to 100 in 2.8 seconds, 0 to 200 in 6.8 seconds, onwards to a top speed of 340 kilometers per hour while weighing just 1.2 tons. Only 500 units of this car is ever going to be made, and it's been launched in the UK for around 750,000 pounds, about 6.75 crores in India today. If you take away all these aero bits, isn't it just another 720S?
Yeah, if you ask me, it's pretty much a 720S, but what strikes me most about the Senna is the name. Forget about all the aero bits, but just the name Senna. You know, someone had to put a lot of thought into it and say, let's pay tribute to probably the greatest racing driver of all time. So I think it's really nice that McLaren, for whom Senna won 3 world championships, has named the car after us.
So the car has obviously a lot of aero around it, and it's got those dihedral doors. But Aditya, if you notice the doors here, it's sort of transparent. Why is that?
Wow, that's a good question actually. It could be to reduce the weight. I'm not sure if McLaren has any particular reason for it.
Actually, McLaren released a statement. Their official statement is that it helps you look at the apex more, so you can actually see.
I don't know if you'd want to do that, because rule number 1 of being a racing car driver is look far ahead. So if it's an official statement, that's quite interesting, because then you're actually going through a corner and say, hey, it's an apex. Just giving yourself some validation, I think, but it looks cool, that's for sure.
Yeah. We have this massive splitter here. They say that you can actually take off the splitter. So what's the function of a splitter in a race car really?
So basically the splitter and the hole underneath of the car increases the downforce. So it keeps the car sucked into the ground. The flatter the floor is, the more downforce you've got, the better the downforce you get out of it. But yeah, the splitter then of course needs to be followed up by a diffuser in the back and the rear wing to really complete the downforce. The only thing with the splitter is on the road it's not very convenient, but I guess you can take it off. But what's quite interesting actually is that this car comes with a DRS system, which you see in Formula 1 cars and a lot of race cars these days. Because the thing with having a big rear wing like this is you tend to lose out on a lot of speed on the straight. So unlike an aeroplane where the wing produces lift, like I said, this produces downforce. And an interesting fact is that this wing weighs what, 4 kilos or something? But it generates 700 or more than 700 kilos of downforce, which is like placing a 700 kilo block on the back of the car when you're going through a corner. The wing, what it does is it will start to push the car down on the ground, because in an aircraft it lifts the aircraft off the ground, but then in the car you want it to stick to the ground, right? So you've got the mechanical grip, you've got the grip coming from the suspension, the tires, the wheel alignment, everything that can produce grip for you from the car, but you want more. You always want more grip.
McLaren have very proudly said that this has a hydraulic steering rack, and it also comes standard with a 3-camera system, so you can actually overlay your telemetry when you hit a track and then put your overlays in there so you can show off to your friends.
When you're driving, I don't think you really want to be seeing it. You'd rather have it there, and then when you're done you get out of the car and then you look at all the data and all the telemetry, etc. Because it's at speeds like what this car is going to be doing, it's a huge distraction.
So a lot of us were really excited when McLaren said they're going to be showcasing the Senna at the Geneva International Motor Show, but McLaren being McLaren had another trick up their sleeve. And you know what it was? The Senna GTR. So if you thought the Senna was fast, absolutely ludicrous, McLaren came out and said, hey, we have a faster version of this. Now McLaren actually said that the only faster car that they've ever produced over the Senna GTR is the actual Formula One car.
The front splitter is huge. It's like India to America there. Crazy. They've definitely gone to town on this thing.
So here's a question. Now this is only a track-focused car. Why would McLaren do this? Like, I mean, you have a car that's already extreme. It's not out in the market yet. And then they go ahead and say, hey, we have a car that's coming that's more extreme than the car that hasn't really come out in the market yet.
You'd be surprised actually. Manufacturers are doing it for customers who are there already, people who want to buy cars like this.
McLaren say that only 75 of these cars are ever going to be produced, and it produces at least 825 bhp over the 789-ish that the standard Senna produces. We were amazed at the fact that the regular Senna produced around 700 kilograms of downforce. This one does over 1,000 kilograms of downforce. So
that's almost as heavy as the Senna itself.
Exactly, and it's going to cost £1 million, which is about 9 crore Indian rupees. Alright folks, with that you have it, the McLaren Senna and the Senna GTR, a car that has a lot to live up to because of its name.
It's already living up to that by the looks of it.
We have a lot more cars coming your way from the Geneva International Motor Show. For those of you who are writing your exams, well, why don't you just click on save it for later so you can come back to this and drool over these supercars once you're done with the exams. We should wish them all the best for the exams. Do you remember what it's like doing exams then?
I don't want to, but good luck for your exams, kids. You need it.
Alright folks, a lot more content coming up your way. Stay tuned, stay subscribed. We'll see you in just a bit.